Okay, so welcome to CENMAC's Thursday 30. We've got Katie Fitch from Crick Software here today, who's going to give us a little introduction to Clicker. There'll be a chance for questions at the end as well. So I'll hand over to Katie to get going on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our 30-minute session where I'm going to give you a very quick introduction to Clicker. Some of you might be familiar with Clicker, some of you may be completely new. Clicker is a piece of software designed for supporting primary learners to develop reading, writing and literacy skills. So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you some of the key features and think about some of the learners that they might be beneficial to. So what we're going to do over the next part of the session is to look at Clicker in three different parts. So we'll start by looking at the word processor and the key writing support that children can use to develop their writing skills. We'll then move on to looking at some of the ready-made cross-curriculum resources and how they can be really useful to scaffold different topics and themes that you might have within your curriculum. And finally, if we get time, it might be a bit of a push. We'll have a very quick look at how you can, within Clicker, create some of your own personalised bespoke resources. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. We'll have a few minutes at the end as well for any questions. So type them in the box. I'll keep an eye on them on my other screen, or you can save them to the end and we'll have an open sort of forum for 5 minutes then. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at Clicker as a supportive writing tool for many of our primary students. And what I'm showing you on the screen now is Clicker 8. So Clicker 8 works on laptops and PCs. If you're using iPads or Chromebooks, then we have Clicker Writer, which is a selection of apps that work within your iPad Chromebook. Today we're going to focus on the laptop PC version. Lots of these resources and features that I'm going to show you will also work on the iPad, but I'm sure we'll be doing a session later on in the year if you want to learn specifically about the Clicker apps for iPads and Chromebooks. So today, focusing on laptops and PCs. And I always tell people that are new to Clicker, you can think of Clicker really as having two key aspects. What we're looking at the moment is our blank writing page with our support buttons along the top. So this is Clicker as a child-friendly word processor for children that are starting to craft some simple sentences. The other side of Clicker that we'll move on to in a little while are our cross-curricular writing grids. So for children who perhaps need a little bit more scaffold than starting with a blank page, we can find them a topic-specific vocabulary grid, such as this one around their favourite things, which gives them vocabulary ideas, punctuation suggestions for them to craft their sentences around. So we've got the word processor and the supports along the top, or the writing grid support at the bottom. So let's just hide the grid for now and move into looking at some of the key writing features if I was to create a simple piece of writing. So we're going to start with our first sentence, and I'm going to add in the full stop.
My name is Katie.
So one of the first key features of Clicker when we write is that everything is speech supported. So you probably noticed I added in the full stop at the end. We got a child-friendly voice reading over that sentence, highlighting each word as it read. So really important for encouraging children to read and track along. To mimic that finger moving along the page, we've got the highlighting, and also it's going to be really useful for encouraging children to pick up any errors, if they make any spelling mistakes there as well. You might have also noticed that Clicker also added in my capital letter. So something I can change there, perhaps if you've got younger children or children at different stages of the writing journey, that's useful. Perhaps some of you would like to turn that feature off. And one of the fantastic things about Clicker is that we can personalise it using the options tab. So I might decide that perhaps I want to listen to a different voice within Clicker. So I can choose from a menu of voices. I might decide that I want to speed up or slow down that voice. So I've got my speed slider there as well. I can also, if I want to, turn off the automatic capitalisation. So if I want children to remember to use their capital letters, I can turn the auto caps off. I mentioned before that if I do make a spelling mistake, and here you can see one in my next sentence.
I find writing hard.
Clicker's going to read it aloud for me so I can hear the error. I can also see the error because I've got the red squiggly underline. So what we now want children to be able to do is to independently spell check. So within Clicker, they've got two different spell checking options. They've got a spell checker along the top ribbon where you can see the ABC button that opens up a spell checker that looks like this. And we call it the floating spell checker because we can move it around our page and decide where it works best for us. So spell checkers within Clicker have two simple rules. If I struggle to find the word in the spell checker, I'm not too sure which one is writing. It could be this one. I can do a right click
Writing.
and listen to any of the words.
Writing. Writing.
Okay? So the rule within Clicker is whenever you right click a word, Clicker's going to read it aloud to me. If you want to choose the word, rather than right click, you're going to left click. So that's one option of the spell checker. You can also right click next to the word and get what we call the drop down spell checker. Works exactly the same.
Writing.
Right click to listen.
Writing.
Left click to choose. Okay, so all I needed to do there was right click to listen, left click to choose. I've just realised that I've actually chosen the wrong word there, so I obviously wasn't listening to my suggestions. I'll correct it now. Okay. We've also got within Clicker a voice note recorder, useful for children that struggle with working memory, perhaps sequencing, perhaps remembering sentences, key vocabulary. Again, up to the top ribbon, you can see a small microphone button. I'm going to press the red record button. My favourite sport is football. I like playing outside. I'm going to press stop and done, and that voice note now sits in my page. Voice notes are really versatile. You've got a minute's recording time within them, and you can have 6 of those recordings within your page. So if I wanted to practice my next sentence, I could simply start my recording again, press stop, press done, and there's my next word to remember, sentence, paragraph idea if I'm working with older children. Can also be useful as a learning prompt for children. So perhaps rather than students using the voice note recorder, I could use it as a teacher to leave students staged instructions. So if I was leaving some lesson prompts for today, in your first sentence, tell me about your favourite colour. I could leave a step-by-step teacher prompt for my children, telling them what to do. So it's great for students who perhaps struggle with independence or perhaps need bringing back to a task with a teacher prompt. Okay, I'm now going to use my final key feature to write that sentence that we recorded. We'll listen to it once more by clicking. My favourite sport is football. What I'm now going to do to write that sentence is to use the predictor. So again, back up to my tool ribbon, and I'm going to press the predictor button, and it's going to start to give me word suggestions. So some high frequency words here because it recognises I'm starting a sentence. But of course, we're actually trying to write my favourite sport is football. So I'm going to add in my first letter and you can see those words updating. Just like the spell checker, and we will remember the rule.
My.
Right click to listen, left click to choose. So we'll move on to favourite, and you can see just 2 letters here, and I'm already got that word appearing in my word list. So this is really useful for children who perhaps struggle with writing outcome, perhaps write quite slowly because they're building up words letter by letter. Also useful if you've got children who still spell quite phonetically. So let's give football a go here with our phonetic build-up of sounds. And you can see that it's still bringing it into my word predictor list. So if you've got young children or even children further up the school that are still building phonetic sound blocks, the word predictor can be really useful. So the 4 key features, we've got our speech feedback with our child sounding voice. We've got our spell checker, allowing us to independently listen and choose any word suggestions. We've got our voice note recorder to orally practice and rehearse prior to writing. And we've got our predictor to cue us with words as we add in our individual letters. So all of those key features are there for me as a learner to enable my writing process and hopefully engage and speed up the writing production as well. So we've looked at the key features of the word processor. I'm just going to pause there and see if anybody's got any quick questions or anything appearing in the chat. So I'll give you a minute if you just want to type anything in. If I don't see anything appearing, I'll move on to the next stage of our session. Yep, that's a great question. Can the voice recordings be saved ahead of time? They absolutely could. So if I was a teacher getting this ready for my student, I could save my teacher prompts, record my teacher prompts. I could save this writing and students could then open it up and it could be ready for them at the start of a lesson. So absolutely, you could get ready and be ready to access them ahead of time. So yeah, great question in terms of preparation. Get them ready, student can access them straight away. Oh, voice recorder, somebody missed where to find it. It's just up here on the top ribbon and it looks like a small microphone button. So up on the support ribbon, microphone button, if you press that, your recorder will start as soon as you press the red button. Okay, let's move on to the next part then, where we're going to look at some of the ready-made grids. So perhaps we're working with children who need a little bit more scaffold and support. So as a teacher, I would suggest heading straight into the area that's called learning grids. So in the top left of Clicker, you'll find a small folder button. If you go into the option that says Learning Grids Resources, here you're going to see all of our ready-made resources. So you can see that at the moment we've got more than 3,000 resources ready for you to access, linked to all of our different curriculum areas. So if I was planning a history lesson today, I might go into my history tab, find my topic. So perhaps it's going to be ancient Egypt for some of my Key Stage 2 children. And I can then see all of my different Clicker resources. And on the right-hand side, it will tell me what type of resource I'm looking at. So I can see a word bank and a book and a sentence set. So I'm going to show you some examples of these so you can think about some of the children that you work with and perhaps which might be the most appropriate. And I'm going to take a topic today and do a search at the top. We're going to be learning how to look after our teeth. So perhaps some PHSE science work here for us today. So Clicker's found for me 22 ready-made resources. So we're going to start off with a sentence set. So this is a sentence set that you can see on your screen now. The idea of a sentence set is that it takes a series of words, it mixes the order up, and it puts a full stop in. So what we want our learners to do here is to recreate a simple sentence about brushing their teeth. And I've got a word with a capital letter to give me a clue where to start. Now, we already know that if I want to listen to any of the words,
teeth,
I'm going to do the right click. When I want to use the word, I'm going to left click. So I can start to build up my sentence by listening and selecting the words. And many children that you work with might be able to work through this sentence set independently, choosing the words, putting them in the correct order. Perhaps other children might need an additional level of support. So above the picture, you can see a green I button. And what this does is it shows you the sentence that I want you to make. So you might read it, you might right click and listen to it.
I brush my teeth every day.
And then when I hide the sentence, I'm going to go back to my words, finishing off that sentence, going back to the support button again if I need to. It's always there. Adding in the full stop.
I brush my teeth every day.
Listening back to the sentence, checking that I've got it right, and then using the arrow button to move on to the next grid and the next grid. So a sentence set is a nice broken down scaffolded task where we ask children to put words into order to recreate a sentence linked to our topic. A sentence set then moves on to a connect set. So again, we've got some visual pictures for children that like to have visual support. This time in a connect set, moving the learner on from a sentence set, we're starting to introduce word choices and combinations. So we've got some beginnings, some middles, some ends, we've got a connector, we've even got a comma in the mix now. So as a learner, I've got to think, which could come first?
First.
What could come next? How could I manipulate and build these words to make a sentence that's grammatically correct? So we're really widening out the working vocabulary, and we're starting to get children to manipulate sentence construction a little bit more. But all of the grids take them step by step through that sequential writing. Okay? So we've got a sentence set, a connect set. For some children, we might move them on to a word bank. So what a word bank does, as you notice, is takes away your punctuation support, takes away your high frequency words, and gives you a single grid in this instance with all of the words that you might need to build up a piece of writing about teeth. So this would be useful for children that have got a bank of high frequency words that they can call on, but need topic specific vocabulary support. Again, they can listen,
brush,
and they can use these words in conjunction with any other of the clicker features. So I might use a word bank at the bottom, as well as my predictor at the top, to help me build up my writing.
teeth,
I could type in words independently,
gums,
and have all of those support features working in conjunction with each other. So that could be a word bank with a single grid. It might be that for some children, I want to give them a more extensive word bank. And because I'm giving you more vocabulary here, I'm helping you with your writing because I'm putting them into different categories. So I've put some words related to our diet and words related to the dentist on the different tabs. So still the same principle of me using high frequency words, but just a wider selection of vocabulary here to choose from. And finally, for students that can can work with an even wider vocabulary bank, perhaps have quite a good oral vocabulary, maybe struggle with spelling, I could give them an A to Z word bank. So all of our words related to teeth, and this time I've put them into alphabetical order for you. So the idea is that within Clicker and within learning grids, think of your classroom topic, think of children that would benefit from a sentence set, children that would benefit from a connect set, introducing manipulatives and options, and children that might benefit from one of the word banks that introduces different levels of vocabulary choices for them to use. Just before I ask if you've got any questions, I'm just also going to mention that you can edit any of these grids. So let's say, for example, I want to edit my word bank. All I need to do to make some changes is go to my clicker set button, go to my pencil edit button and decide what I want to change. So I might take out the word healthy and put clean, for example. You can see that that word's been changed now and Clicker's put it in there. And if I press go, it now appears in that grid for my children. So it's really useful if you're working with small groups of children, perhaps one-to-one, to ask children for their vocabulary suggestions as well, and just make some of those minor tweaks and adjustments. Okay, let me show you two more grids, sticking with my topic of teeth. We also have within learning grids clicker books. These are really useful for children who perhaps struggle with accessing content in book form, perhaps need to consolidate and practice some of the language that's introduced in a lesson before they move on to a writing task. And what's nice about clicker books is that they will mirror the vocabulary that we then ask children to use in any of the writing grids that we've just looked at. And rather than children having to read these independently, they can choose their talk button.
Brushing my teeth.
And they can move through their book.
I brush my teeth every day to keep them clean.
And it will then read it aloud to them. So for younger children, it might just have a couple of sentences. If we've got children in Key Stage 2 with books about the Romans and the Anglo-Saxons, it's going to have more text and more information in there as we move further up Key Stage 2. Okay, let me show you one more. This is called a talk set. I really like talk sets because I think lots of children that we work with struggle with writing, but may be able to orally show more knowledge and understanding than they do on a piece of paper. And talk sets can be a great way of capturing what our children know. So again, I've got my topic of brushing my teeth. I've got a series of pictures. What I'm going to do is choose my picture. Remember the sound button that we used in our document when we were practicing our sentences? Well, now we're going to use it in the context of our topic. So I'm going to press my red record button. First of all, squeeze some toothpaste onto your clean toothbrush. I'm going to press stop and done. So in this activity, children might be retelling the sequence of what to do when you brush your teeth. In another example, they might be talking about what they found out about Anglo-Saxon houses. But the idea is if we remove the writing barrier, sometimes children are more able to express knowledge and understanding than they often do through writing. And these can be kept as evidence as well. So for some of those children who we look in their books and perhaps they haven't got a great deal of written outcome, can be a nice way of storing alternative evidence. And to save any of these, literally all you need to do is go to your clicker set, because we're using one of our grids, press the save button, choose where you want to save it, and it's going to save that audio file embedded in that activity. Okay, any questions about the grids before I finally move on to the last part, which is going to be making our own? Let me have a quick look at the chat box and give you a minute to type. Okay, can't see any popping up. I'll keep an eye as we move on. So let's imagine now that we want to create one of our own grids. We might have an event or an activity going on in school. Perhaps we've got a school trip. We want our children to come back and create some writing. So to make a new set, I've gone to the clicker set button along the top ribbon, and this time I'm going to choose the new option. It's going to open up a menu of choices, asking me which of the grids I want to make. Is it one of the writing sets? Am I trying to make a clicker book? Do I want to start one of our mind mapping clicker boards? I'm going to choose a sentence set today because I think this is probably the most popular grid within Clicker. So I'm going to choose my sentence set. And all I need to do now is to type in the sentences that I want to use. If you work one-to-one with a child, this is a great opportunity to get them to tell you what they want to write, and you can then create it in a grid. Or I might be creating something for tomorrow's lesson. I might say, tomorrow we are going to the farm. We will see lots of, let's say, chicken and some sheep. Okay. So you get the idea. I'm just typing my sentences in here. I'm going to press OK. Clicker's going to make them now into 2 instant grids. Now, I might decide that I want to make some changes here. If you remember the grid that we looked at on brushing our teeth, it had a sentence picture. Lots of children like pictures. So to put in the picture option, I'm going to choose the sentence picture. I'm going to go to my blank button now and see if we can find a picture within the Quick Picks library. So I might do a quick search for some sheep, and here we go. It's going to find me a picture that's going to go into the sentence. I can also put pictures into individual boxes as well. So if I want to find a picture here, again, got a built-in picture library. Let's try that again. And I can put pictures into individual words as well. So if you've got some words that perhaps children struggle with or they need an additional prompt with, not only can you have the sentence picture, you can have the word picture as well. So to create your own, really nice and simple. If you've made any of your own resources, do remember that you need to save them. Yep, because we've created this completely from new. I'm going to go to Clicker Set and save and choose where I want to save that. You might have a local folder, you might put it on your desktop. If you're using any form of cloud storage, you could pop it into your OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. Okay, I've got 3 minutes to show you a final feature within Clicker, which is called Clicker Analytics. So useful from a teacher's perspective, because ideally we want to understand how a piece of writing has been put together. So let's imagine, end of the lesson, our student might have created a piece of writing that looks a bit like this. And unless I've been sitting with them, I don't really know how it's been put together. So analytics is a behind the scenes view into how our learners have been using Clicker. And to access that information, if we go up to the ribbon at the top, you can see an analytics button. And this now starts to colour code that writing so I can see how my student has put the work together. So I can see the black words were added from the keyboard, the red words came out of the spell checker, the purple words they used the predictor for. I can also, using the tabs along the top, start to get some useful information as to how my learners were crafting their writing. So you can see here in the spell checking section, the word that the learner was trying to write, but also how they were originally spelling it, as well as if they listened to it in Clicker before they chose it. So as a teacher here, I might start to pick up some common spelling patterns that I can cover again with my student. Perhaps on this occasion, it might be some work on silent letters. Perhaps it might be some work around high frequency words, but useful to capture how the work was being produced and also think about how I can support next steps in learning and potentially target some of those words in future lessons. Okay, I'm going to finish there with 1 minute to go. I'm going to put my contact details up on the screen. If you'd like any more information, if you've got any questions, pop me an email on this email address. If you've got a question now, pop it into the chat box. Somebody's asked about the recording. I know that we are recording it, so I'm sure it will be made available to you. Yeah, Mary's just said they will send out the recording to you, so you'll have access to this 30 minutes as well if you want to refer back to it. So it's 4 o'clock. Thanks for your 30 minutes. If you've got any questions, I'm going to stay around for 5 minutes, so the chat box will be open. If you're disappearing, it was lovely to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Katie. That was a really helpful session. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Katie. It was brilliant.
Just a couple of questions. When the children do voice recordings, can Clicker write what the children say? No, voice recordings within Clicker literally just store that voice note. So if I've recorded my sentence, it's just going to appear in the side of my page. If you do want to do voice to text dictation, it's not available within Clicker, but you can do it using Windows. So Windows has that functionality. So to make that work within Clicker, on your keyboard, it's just the Windows and the H button that will then do voice to text. So not a Clicker feature, a Windows feature that will work within Clicker. So kind of two different elements to that answer. Voice notes in Clicker, voice to text using Windows within Clicker. Is it possible to use your own photographs within Clicker? Absolutely. So if I go back to the sentence set that I made, and if I just pop into the edit button, so in the picture box, I choose the built-in library. You can also go to any of your other folders. So if you've got a photograph that's saved on your desktop, just find the folder location. There is also direct access to a camera as well. So yeah, you can add your own pictures wherever you want to. Pictures within words, pictures within the grids. Yeah, choose your folder location, add any pictures in that you want to.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Thanks for your questions. I'll end the recording there, okay? Lovely to see you all. Thank you, bye-bye.